I think digitization of real estate is pretty much a mature technology at this point, but it hasn't gained a lot of traction. So I would like to actually see more of that. I'd like to see landlords more interested in it because there are some true benefits to digitizing your buildings and seeing layers of data that can give you insights to operate more efficiently.
We're going to go see some founders and some booths here. Adrian, what's one nugget that maybe you've seen so far that's been interesting and exciting while being here?
It's been the most amazing conference I've been to. The networking opportunities were like, just quite amazing and actually overwhelming. I never seen the same conference as the Blueprint being so equipped to like facilitate networking. A lot of great conversations, a lot of great roundtables.
Awesome.
I just kind of feel sorry it wasn't longer than
it's amazing.
Than a couple of days.
It's only 3 days or 2.5 days. You have the Climatech Summit that was started with Brendan Fraser. Excuse me. Sorry, Brendan. With Brendan and Fifth Wall. Excuse me. So Brendan and Fifth Wall has the Climatech Summit, and every year he does it, and it gets better and better. And some of the incredible speakers. And he had a conversation today with Credible Lineage IPO and about where they're moving. So I really, love the people I've gotten to meet here in person. Got to meet the Property Brothers today, and they're doing a partnership with Groundbreak. Got to meet Equity Angels. Got to meet up with our friends at NMHC and NARH. We just did some live podcasting with some of the folks from Crow Holdings, some other podcasters, some other leaders. It's unreal. This is an absolute solid event, and I think what they do really well at Blueprint is they partner with other organizations and they bring them in, give them a platform. Hey, here's Tom. Come on over, Tom. This is one of the, so got to speak earlier with Tom. We had a little interview. Say hello, Tom.
Hi, guys.
So this is Tom Byrne,
Yes.
Managing Director over at Crow Holdings out of Texas.
Okay.
Oh, you're in Silicon Valley though, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So Tom, your team is one of the best investors out there. You guys have done a heck of a job. What's the portfolio look like right now for you all?
Well, fortunately, we have 12 companies and all are doing well, so we don't have any problem children. That's a good one.
Awesome. Okay.
Hopefully that differentiates us from a few VCs out there.
And you could be a very strategic partner for your companies because you've got experience in development, ownership, investing, had successes, and your network is pretty solid too, right?
Yeah, well, 40 years of hands-on PropTech startups as well. Like we've run companies and we've seen some of the battle scars. So yes, that's right. Thanks, Chris.
You're really a founder's best friend because you've been through it. You know the challenges they're going through and the mental aspects as well of success and failure. You've seen it. Right?
Friend sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Still gonna have ROI, right?
Still got to work.
And you've got people. We all have people we report to.
That's right.
Awesome. Can you tell us maybe something? Why do you come to Blueprint? What's maybe some of the top reasons you enjoy coming here?
Oh, I love Blueprint just to generate ideas and here's what's going on in the market, all the new technologies, problems being solved. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Right. Anything that we can help you with, or the audience can help you with, or your founders with right now?
Reach out to Crow if you have an interesting idea that you're Series A, Series B ready, and we'd love to be partners.
Awesome. And then is there a sector that you're really liking to go deep on right now, whether it's construction tech, labor issues, operations?
I think this. We still like the data space a lot. We like workflow space a lot. So anything that helps improve the efficiencies of those workflows and the data streams and leveraging that to your advantage, those are big areas of ours.
All right. You know who to reach out to, Crow Holdings. And thank you for your time. And we're going to move on to a few other people. But enjoy the day. Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
All right. So we're going to move on over. We're going to keep walking, and let's walk over here maybe. Actually, I want to go down this way. There is a robot over here. There's some hardware tech. Yeah. So we have a little bit of a debate about taking capital and not taking capital. So I think we're going to go over here and see if they're available. I know there's Kairos water right here. So are you guys free, or are you doing a pitch?
No, I mean, we're wrapping up.
Can we come over real quick just to see what you guys are working on? We're live on the internet right now. I know. That's okay. Yeah.
So we got Damon from AXA. We have
Damon, Nathan,
yeah,
and Dean.
Yeah.
So you guys probably are some of the smartest people when it comes to water. just tell us in a quick,
Yeah.
one sentence, what is the problem you're trying to solve for right now?
Yeah, so we mainly solve for water damage in buildings. High-rise buildings is a big one for us. So anything that can destroy the building from a water escapement standpoint. We have physical leak detection devices. We have control valve systems. We have high mass flow devices that can detect large pipes in the buildings. So we see everything from like cat events to even the smaller events, right? So catastrophic water losses all the way down to like minimal losses, using environmental sensors, using water meters, using control systems, and that provides a holistic approach to protecting the building.
Great. Love to offer it up to you, Derek. I mean, what are your thoughts on the hardware, the insurance tech play here? What questions do you have?
So, as it pertains to our debate, VC or bootstrapped, I do concede that I think hardware companies are a special case where you need VC backing because, I mean, how are you going to bootstrap this with your own money?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that manufacturing at scale, you do actually need a VC check for this. So maybe you guys can explain what your fundraising journey is.
Yeah, it's been interesting. We've raised about $7 million in our entire history, in 7-year history, and this year is the first year where we've actually generated more revenue than we've ever raised. So
Amazing.
Very, very
Congrats.
exciting. And we did bootstrap the product until we brought it to market. We spent 3 years of research and development, took on very little capital, and we brought 3 products to market for like $750,000.
Love to hear that.
Yeah, so we had really smart engineers internally, and we're able to do that. But of course, scaling to the next phase of our growth. I mean, we're currently growing at 300 to 400% by the end of this year, and of course, growing at that pace, requiring so much capital equipment is absolutely going to require investment capital. And that's why
Which
we're
markets
raising.
are you in right now? Because I mean, water is global.
Yeah, water is global. So we actually have our technology in about 42 states statewide in the U.S. And then I'll be in Dubai next week at the World Energy and Utility Expo. And so we will be deploying in the Middle
I
East.
can't imagine they have a ton of leaking problems in Dubai, though.
The high-rise buildings.
Well, maybe.
Yeah, they have lots of high-rise buildings, have lots of water problems. But they also have some of the most expensive water in the entire world.
Right.
And so in terms of water losses, that's something that's very common, and it's costing them a lot of capital, because if you think about how they produce water, they have to use RO because they don't have natural sources of water. And so, desal plants use a tremendous amount of energy. You think about the climate impact of using fossil fuels to generate electricity to heat pump and treat water in the general infrastructure. It's a very tasking device, tasking process, and it costs a lot of money if you lose that water infrastructure, right? Because you're paying for it in distribution, losing it in the ground. It's literally like you spent oil to produce water to only lose the oil and the water back into the ground, right? Like, it's kind of silly, but it happens. And so I think this, kudos to those governments, because they're putting a lot of initiatives behind water, energy, and transitioning to more sustainable ways of managing their resources that are incredibly limited when you're in a desert that only rains about 5 times a year. So that is a interesting thing that we're partnered with an incredible company out of Europe that's helping us distribute internationally. So we'll be in Europe and the Middle East. So yeah.
Awesome. Any last questions before we go? We're going to go see some more companies. Thanks for joining us, guys, and taking some time out of your day.
Absolutely.
All right, we'll see y'all. All right, well, here we go. Great job, Derek. Let's go find more companies. We're hearing the galling in the background here. What is it? Puppies? Oh, we missed the robot over here, so that's all right. Let's move.
Well, this is my section over here.
Is it? Okay, let's see it real
Got
quick.
my logo over.
Good. Where are y'all from?
We're from Vancouver, BC.
Vancouver.
Yeah,
Love
our
it.
company
Okay.
is Singapore.
Singapore. Okay.
Yeah.
Booked.
Booked.
Booked. Okay. So tell us on, and we're gonna have Derek here ask you a couple questions. So maybe you wanna ask the question?
Well, I mean, I'm just gonna throw you guys softballs.
Oh no. Hardball.
All right, no,
Hardball
you
here.
ask them, because I'm gonna be.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you guys a question.
Let me bring one of my own over here.
Bring it over. What's the challenge you guys are solving for? That's what I want to ask. David, welcome. We're live streaming online. What's in as succinct as possible, what's the challenge Booked is focused on right now?
we are focused on solving, how would we say this? Basically, the high cost and lack of flexibility in setting up new offices and renovations.
Look at that. Okay, you got the demo going right here. So
Yeah, so
high
this
cost, physical products and systems
Correct.
going in.
So basically, an office like this, say in New York or whatever, we're talking over $200 per square foot, right? Just for typical renovations, fit outs. We can do this at 60 to 70% less than that.
Wow.
And we can do it in less than a month, right?
Okay.
Because it's a zero construction, no build solution.
Interesting. And now, would this be applicable just to offices? Could it be amusement parks, airports? Could it be hotels?
Anywhere there is space,
Okay.
it's relevant. Yeah, so
Got
we're
it.
actually working now with institutions, universities, hospitals,
Yeah.
multifamily.
Wow.
Yeah, so basically just give us a space.
Multifamily, all right.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's just basically be able to activate, utilize unused spaces.
Love it. And you guys are based up in Canada.
We're actually based. We're setting up here. We're actually.
Oh, great.
We are now officially a U.S. company.
Love
so,
it. What
yeah.
city?
LA.
LA.
Yeah.
Well, welcome. Great to have you guys here.
Love being here.
And now let's throw them what's maybe a unique take that people. I have a lot of chips on my shoulder from being a founder. I see it a lot. What's one thing that people say is impossible with you? That it's not going to work. Is there something that you guys have figured out you've been able to overcome and found your niche?
Yeah, well, I would say it actually goes back to the cost. So when
Okay.
we say that we can do it at 60% less,
Yeah.
right, you got to be kidding. There's no way you can do that. There's no way you can do this in less
Yeah.
than a month, right? We love proving them wrong. So
Amazing.
that's basically, that's probably the biggest thing that we face with this. Because people think of it, oh, renovation, I got to put up my walls, I got to put up my HVAC, right?
Yeah.
It's just, we don't have any of that stuff. So, yeah.
Awesome. Very nice to meet you guys.
Great meeting
Thanks
you.
for coming.
Thank
and
you.
thanks for sharing your
for
story.
having us.
We'll
Thank
see y'all
you for
soon.
having us.
All right, let's keep going. We have a friend here.
Oh,
Eric came to join us, huh? We're live streaming online. Good to see you, Eric. So, now what other companies are here? You have Saracen. They
He's probably petting the
in
puppies
meetings.
right now.
Okay. Copilot, calling us. LATAM.
PropTech LATAM.
Okay, LATAM companies. And then we have Vayor, Titus. Okay. Let's walk over to the puppies
Okay.
because we got to have some fun with puppies. We'll stop by the.
The puppy park is exactly what it sounds like.
We're going to
There
stop
are
by the
actual puppies
Matt
here.
Knight startup area as well. See some of these really early stage companies who are building innovative technology. So we're at a time where there are sessions going on. So it's actually a great time to be on the floor because it's nice and quiet. So I'm going to come over here and see the plants. So these are living walls. Sorry, don't mind us. We're just streaming on the internet right now. We'll listen in. But we can listen in your conversation. Is that okay? Or? Okay. So can we hear the pitch?
Sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah. So we help apartment buildings implement community gardens.
Okay.
This is our wall garden. And what we do is we partner with the property owner. They can implement these inside every apartment. So each tenant gets their own garden, or they can put them in a common area, like a lobby or a game room, a large installation. Then what happens is the tenant subscribes to get access to the grow space and fresh produce right there in their building on a monthly basis.
Wow.
So yeah, people are loving it so far. And the thing we didn't realize is that when you bring food into these buildings, all of a sudden people start talking to each other.
Wow.
And they're like, oh, how's your basil growing? You know? And so we've actually gotten feedback that people used to ride up and down the elevator, with their neighbors, never talk to each other. Now they're friends doing like monthly dinner parties.
Awesome.
And so it's a really cool community effect.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how much does it cost per resident?
So for a resident to sign up, it's $50 if you're doing a full garden, or $30 to rent out individual row in the community application.
So it can be both for community or for your unit, either
Exactly.
way, or corporate office. Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. Very cool. And then you're part of the Matt Knight. This is Matt Knight's
Emerging tech.
Emerging Tech. Okay. So thanks to Matt Knight and Fire and Blueprint for having these early stage companies. Well, thanks for letting us stop by, guys. We'll let you get back to it.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers. All right. So we're going to loop.
I did install.
Did you really? One of your house on
I
here.
did have a community garden.
Let's go over here and we'll see some of the companies. So here's a signage of all the companies that are happening. But you said you installed a garden?
Yes, I had a
Okay.
community garden. Everyone got a 2x2 foot plant their own vegetables.
Okay.
This was a co-living building. So to his point, it does increase tenant interactions. And we had an earlier discussion in the roundtable about how there are certain unquantifiable aspects that you might invest in a building, and you can't really calculate the returns. And this, I felt, was one of them, where being sustainable and a community. And as a result, I did see an ROI that I could measure because my occupancy is consistently 100%. Like aside from a couple days turnover throughout the year, the building is extremely popular.
Awesome. Well, let's keep walking. So I'm going to actually walk over here. Drew, one of our friends with the gym community. If you don't know the gym community, you have about what? I'm going to come over and join your conversation if that's okay and show off your product. We're streaming live on the internet right now about Blueprint. Just LinkedIn Live, YouTube, and PropTechBuzz. And so we've got Drew and Matthew Mead with Hemp to Texture. Okay, so Drew, what's one question you want to ask Matt about his business? And don't make it a softball. Make it tough.
What's your ideal customer, and what's like a current customer worth to you as far as like lifetime value or?
Wow. He came out with the hard hitter. So today our primary market is single family residential.
Single family.
But we're moving towards multifamily and commercial. We're unlocking some code compliance there for getting into those markets, which have similar but slightly different code certifications. The lifetime value of our customer today, being in single family residential, really is one-off buys. Our purchase size averages between $5,000 to $10,000 per customer. But in the future, targeting more architects and specifiers, contractors for repeat buyers to have customers that are recurring.
Awesome. Nice. Great share. So do you see applications in the future for multifamily and commercial and airports and industrial?
Absolutely. Really where we see this going is across all residential verticals, industrial as well, but a market segment that we're actually really interested in is high density urban construction. In curtain walls, there's often spandrel insulation, which is mineral fiber. This is a great way for us to decarbonize the built environment that's largely built of concrete, glass, and steel.
Awesome. Thanks for meeting with us, Matthew.
Yeah, likewise.
All right. We'll see you soon. All right. Thanks, Drew. Appreciate it. All right. We're going to keep walking through here. We're going to see what other technologies. Hey, guys. How are you? Good. All right. We'll keep walking through. Let's see here. Hey, guys. How are you? So let's walk down there. Yeah, we'll make our way to the puppies and see what we got. I agree. I think there's got to be a new capital for these founders because venture is great, but sometimes you got to bridge the gap between venture and going over towards funding sales and funding hardware. And a lot of venture dollars don't like to buy, number one, real estate. Number two, they don't like to buy hardware and physical assets. They want to fund software, right?
Puppies are sleeping.
Oh, they're sleeping. It looks like they're going to be back. They're going to be back in about 35 minutes. So we'll come back and see the puppies. But this is brilliant. Whoever Endpoint is sponsoring the puppies has got to be brilliant.
Endpoint is right here.
Is Endpoint right here? Okay. Let's do it. Endpoint, you guys are sponsoring this booth across the way with the dogs.
We are.
You're Troy?
Yep, I'm Troy.
We're live streaming on the internet. Would you mind sharing in one sentence what are you guys doing and who are you solving it for?
We are a digital title and escrow company founded by First American.
Right.
And
First American Ventures?
First American Title.
Got it.
And we are solving primarily for buyers and sellers to be more consumer centric.
Awesome. And how's the business going?
Great.
Awesome.
Other than the fact that in the last 2 years, there's been a pullback in transactions.
Totally. Okay. And how have you found the puppies align with your business model or with your customer?
Here we go. Chuck is our mascot.
Oh, great.
Part of Endpoint from the very beginning.
Right.
And so
I believe every closed transaction comes with a puppy.
Is that true?
Yeah. There is these are rescue puppies that they're not here right now. They're
coming back.
Sleeping. They're
Yeah.
coming back. But we partnered with Puppy Love to provide this experience for conference attendees to get some wellness time. And
Absolutely brilliant.
they partnered with a local rescue. So all the puppies that will be here.
Here's the puppy park. We'll come around here. You can see there's little gifts, there's toys, there's park benches. Absolutely brilliant marketing. So
it's the happening place.
Yeah.
For when they're here.
Well, thank you for spending the time with us, Troy. We're going to keep going, but we'll see you soon. All right. And I'm going to walk this way. There's some companies we know. There's the JLL Spark booth. Oh, yeah.
Let me pose a question to you.
Yes.
What do you think
Let's
is
do it.
worth more?
Yeah.
A customer dollar or a venture dollar?
Customer dollar or a venture dollar, to me, always a customer dollar is worth more.
Aha.
Always.
So are you on Team Bootstrap then?
I am, but I also believe you got to raise capital. And I want to say hello to these two really quick. They're part of the NAR Reach program. So he's going to get to stump you, but we're doing short takes. So like one sentence, 2 sentences live on the internet. Is on YouTube Live, PropTechBuzz and LinkedIn. So no pressure.
Perfect.
So in one nugget, tell us what you're doing and what you're working on and why you're here.
Yeah, well, I'm working on Infinity. This is Jim Schoonmaker. He's the CEO and founder. And we are talking to owners, operators, and people that are funding great groups like ours. And it's been a really great event because anybody and everybody is here. So it's super.
So I'm going to hand it over to my partner here in crime. Derek, what's one thing you want to ask them?
All right. So we did have a conversation yesterday. I want to ask you, and this is going to be a tough one. What does AI mean to you?
Jim.
Too hard.
Yes, I was going to do the opposite. But okay, she beat me to the point. What AI means to me is we're finally able to move out of algorithms and into what you can basically think of as human-based intelligence type scenarios. And for us in particular, we enable you to talk to a property just like ChatGPT and have a very human experience. So I can say, hey, compare the kitchens and the 1-bedroom units in the studios and why are they different? And an AI, that's a very human question that we can now answer in a human way and show people around. That's what makes Infinity unique, is we don't just tell you, we actually show you what's the difference between the kitchens and the 1-bedrooms or the studios. And that's powerful because we can now enable digital sales agents to assist and qualify leads for realtors and or leasing agents so that they can do their job much more efficiently.
I want to jump on that. I just want to say we can do everything a lot faster and less expensively than we used to do it. And I think that's my bottom line.
Yeah, I mean, that's truly one of the benefits of what AI purports to be these days.
Yeah.
But building on that thought, we do hear a lot of companies use the term AI to the point where it's definitely diluting its meaning.
Sure.
So do you think we should basically get rid of the term? And should it be more of a tech term, or should it be more like a natural type of interaction term? Or
well, I think you need to really stop focusing on the technology and focus on the value, right?
Yeah.
So when we call it a digital sales assistant, a co-pilot, that's really what we want to do.
Yeah.
Let's imagine if everybody could have a digital sales buddy that would be there any time of day, answer the questions the way you would answer them, show them the way that you would show them. That's a really cool thing. And that's the value that we want to provide to these customers. And AI is really just an enabler.
Let me throw an idea by you, right? Remember back in the day when everything was www dot?
Yes.
Right? Because we were all learning the World Wide Web and what that meant and what we could do with it. And I think AI is kind of like that right now. We're all using the AI, and at some point it'll drop because it's just what will empower everything.
Yes.
Right? So I think it's just getting the general public to understand what the AI does, and then it'll be like www.
.com company.
Blockchain.
That's right.
There's been plenty of this going around.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for meeting up with us.
Hey, thanks, Chris.
Appreciate the time, and we're planning on seeing you later.
Did we pass? Because we got 2 questions.
I know we got 1A and 1B.
I think they did well.
I feel like we got extra credit. So what's your prize?
Well, you're now part of the Reach program, right?
Yes.
So we'll be at the Reach event tonight.
Yes.
Big sponsors of the event.
Yep.
And what was one person that spoke here that stood out to you in maybe 10 words?
I'm a huge fan of Pete Flint. I think he's one of the smartest guys in this industry that I know. So always enjoy hearing from him.
That was awesome. Yeah, great discussion. How about yourself?
I really enjoyed the Brendan Wallace and Diana
Climate tech discussion?
Yeah, this morning. Yeah, and we talked about it on your podcast this morning too. That's right. So people should watch out for that.
Awesome. All right, thank you both.
Yes.
We're going to keep going. We'll see you back at the Puppies in about half an hour. All right.
You got Brendan's name right. It wasn't Brendan Fraser.
Good, I know. Brendan Wallace. Oh, Matt Knight. Is that Matt Knight over there?
And it's already
Hey, would you mind helping me for a sec? Would you mind recording us like that? My arm is Matt. Matt Knight, we were just by your booths, checking out some of the cool things that you're doing. Would you mind sharing with Derek? We're taking some unique viewpoints, and we would love to hear from you. What's something that you have a unique thesis on, and that is different that other people maybe don't believe in?
Well, I think with that booth, it was that there's a ton of flat screens demos of software here, and we want some hardware because we're still building physical buildings. So we brought about 14 vendors that have hardware and robotics and materials. That was one of them.
That's great.
Yeah.
What's the question you have for Matt?
Ooh, which one's your favorite out of all of them?
Well, if they're going to see this, I can't pick one. I mean,
That is a
I
hardball
love the
question.
robots because the robots are so fun. We just don't see them, right?
Yeah.
And so seeing the robot climb the scaffolding and all that. Canvas, I've known forever, but I love Canvas because they invented fingers that are dexterous enough to hold drywall, which is notoriously brittle. And so they found a way to like patent fingers for holding drywall. That's pretty cool.
Wow.
I'm not saying Canvas is my favorite. I'm saying Canvas is pretty cool.
Let's ask the VC or Bootstrap question. So, what team are you on? Do you appreciate more venture-backed companies or bootstrap companies?
And I can't say both.
You can't say both.
You can say why, maybe. Yeah, you can't say both. That's
Well, I have friends that are VCs, so I have to say venture back.
I'm on
to
team
your
bootstrap.
point, it's not a fit for everybody. Like, it's not a salve that solves all problems raising venture capital. So, like, it needs to be, you need to understand what it is. It's a tool, like a chainsaw. You can either clear a forest or you can chop your arm off. Like, how are you using the tool of venture capital? Awesome.
Thank you, Matt. And all the work you're doing at Fire, can you share Fire and maybe 2 sentences for us?
Nonprofit focused on building the industry up, things that should be done that are not being done, mental health for founders, things like that.
Amazing work. I think you're one of the best supporters of founders. I think you're also one of the most humble people out here. So you're very helpful.
Stay humble. Easy to stay humble seeing the impressive people at this show.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for all the work you do, Matt. Well, I'm excited about what you're doing within MHC after this show. So that'll be fun.
Doing more there, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. All right, thanks. Who else should we go see? What's interesting on the floor that we need to go walk to right now? One or two
Go
things.
see Trunk Tools. They just raised a big
Tools?
round. Have you seen the golf simulator behind them yet?
Well, we'll head over there
Check
too.
the golf simulator,
Okay.
and then Reach is right by the front
We'll
door.
go over to. I think
That's
we'll
a
go to
good
Reach
little
now.
row.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Is that any charge? Oh, we're good. Okay. Awesome. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Is it? Did it say 20%? 20%. Oh, we're good. We're good. So let's go this way. Let's head over to the Reach. What's that? Oh, you guys want to come over here with us? Yeah. Okay, we'll do a little interview. Come on over. Come away from the stage. So let's have this in the background, right? All right. Who wants to come on over? Come on over. All right. So we're gonna do a quick interview here. I got to meet some folks earlier, but Nicole with the Studio Home.
Hi.
So just give us in a nutshell what you're working on right now.
So we have a virtual platform that gives customers the opportunity to see their space furnished before they start construction on a home. So it really is the integration point for all major brands involved in the $90 billion a year ecosystem of
Wow.
furniture and home building.
Amazing. So this is my colleague Derek.
Hi.
Derek, what's a question you'd like to ask her? Or
All right,
maybe
so
want to stump her.
I have seen variations of your business all around the world.
Yes.
I don't believe it's a one winner takes all market because there's plenty of room for competitors
I
here.
agree.
So which region do you operate in, and why are you the best in that region?
So we are offering it in my home state of Texas and in Florida because those are the two biggest competitive markets and the largest markets in the country. And we want to make sure that we give those builders an opportunity to truly give their customers the HGTV experience that they deserve.
Got it.
All
All
right. Thank you very much. And we're going to move over to Pierre.
Great.
Pierre, how are you?
Hey,
Good
Chris.
to see you.
Awesome, man.
Awesome. So
Yeah.
can you tell us just briefly, shortly about Upfront and what you're working
100%.
on, the challenge?
Yeah, we're a cash flow platform purpose-built for the real estate industry. If you guys don't know, it's $100 billion of commissions moving every year in the industry. It's sitting in the ether from 3 weeks to 3 months. And there's only predatory options for that cash to get liquid. And we're building a platform in-house in the brokerage to bring that liquidity at a really fair, invoice factoring kind of model.
Right. And I'm going to hand it over to my colleague
Yeah.
to ask the difficult question of you.
How does one start a business like that?
Oh, great question. One is have a great co-founder who is
Okay.
he's over there, Mook, finance background. Two, it's almost like an OpCo-PropCo model, right? So you have your equity for your company, and then you have your debt line for the liquidity for your clients. And, we had 150 pitches over the first 3 months of the year, closed our round, literally announced it yesterday, raised 2.5 million.
Oh,
And
congratulations.
there is a little bit of space left for strategics. But yeah, so it's really about, and then from there, it's the integrations and doing what other people won't do the unscalable way, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then let's hop into our debate here. We're debating whether it's better to bootstrap or raise venture funding. I
There's
mean, you just finished a
There's
round.
a difference in different companies. I think have different needs, right?
Right.
Like in our world, we have to raise for the sense of that liquidity for the debt side, and to be able and other people. If you're a coder, I think that's a different world. If you're the dev yourself, then you can sort of build it yourself. and that need to raise capital is different. You have to hire devs. But if you're in a world where you really want to attack a massive problem and their speed is of the essence, you have to hire devs. I think raising is sort of a requirement. I mean, otherwise it's really hard.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
for coming
Thanks,
out. Yeah, good to
appreciate
see you. Have fun at the show. Who should we go see now on the trade show floor? What's interesting?
Great question. I like. Well, you did Reach already?
We're gonna head over to Reach right now.
Yeah,
We're gonna head there
I
and do-
love Withco. Did you do Withco already?
We'll head over. We're gonna head over and see who we got.
Withco's a great
Okay.
product. All right,
Yeah,
man.
thank you, sir. All right, we're gonna say hello to the Equity Angels crew right now. Ask them about the work that they're doing. And let's keep walking over here. And then we got to make sure we get back to the puppies in a little bit. So we're gonna head over here. Oops. All right, let's head over this way, and then there they come. Great, absolutely. All right. So, what's that? Oh, whatever. We'll ask you a couple questions. We're live on the internet right now.
Great.
So, Kenya, can you just let us know a little bit, short and sweet for the internet? What are you working on right now with founders in the program?
Absolutely. So my name is Kenya Burrell Van Wormer, and I'm a co-founder and managing partner at Equity Angels. And at Equity Angels, we are a social impact organization that helps and really supports underestimated and underrepresented startup founders.
Awesome.
Yes.
Great. And that's so impactful. It's so needed because founders don't have a lot of support sometimes. Especially when they're in the earliest stages, people won't give them capital because they don't have the revenue yet, they don't have the product yet, they don't have the product market fit. But I want to hand it over to my partner here to ask you a question because he sees a lot of founders from all over the world.
Yes.
So maybe.
So actually, globally, minorities are not minorities, depending on where you are. But over here, I mean, I am a minority over here. And I do encounter a lot of issues, like, there's the bamboo ceiling. I operate in New York, so it's largely, it's tough. So let me put it that way. So what are some of the resources that you think can empower minorities to kind of level the playing field?
Sure. So, we like to look at Equity Angels as a solution to the problem, and it's really providing resources, access to capital. It's also finding networks, right? It's who you know, and sometimes it's who knows you in order to really get those opportunities. We also help with soft capital. So that's almost as important as actually having capital these days. So we really feel like having programs like ours, like a Catalyst program that really provides, again, opportunity, network, community, it really gives an advantage to those early stage startups to help them with their go-to-market and other strategies as well.
Okay. And then one more question. I've been in a debate with Chris.
A debate. Okay.
So
let's go.
we're arguing about whether it's better to take VC money or to bootstrap. I'm on team bootstrap. He's on team VC. What do you think?
I think that's team up to the person that's in the position, because here's the deal. Everyone doesn't need access to capital or VC funds. It depends. It depends on their business structure. It depends on if they're looking at the debts or if they're looking at raising capital. So it really depends on the individual. So I'm going to say that I'm team neither at this point.
Okay.
So I'll be team neutral.
That's the safe
How's
answer.
that?
Okay.
I'll be team neutral for sure.
All right. I won't push you to take a
I
side.
appreciate that.
Okay.
Both provide resources.
All right. Looks like
Thank
Chris
you so
has
much for stopping
lined up
by.
another one.
So this is one of my favorite people. I
Wait,
met.
let me put all my stuff down.
Oh sure, absolutely. Yeah, he's always all the goodies. That's one of the good things.
Oh wow,
about
he's got
Blueprint.
swag.
There's Brian. We're going to talk to Brian in a sec. So one of the great things about Blueprint, tons of great swag, tons of great food. It's one of the best setups I've ever seen at an event. Come on over and join us, Vic. So Vic is one of the partners here at the company with Martin. They do quite a bit. I met you several years ago when this was a small event. I think maybe 700 people, 800 people back then?
700 in year one.
Okay. And now it's over 3,000, 4,000 people?
I'm not going on the record for how many people are here this year, but a good number, bigger than last year. We're excited about it, as long as we're doing the right thing for our attendees.
So for those who didn't make it, I got to meet a lot of first timers. A lot of people, it was their very first time, and I said, hey, you got to be here. So it was really incredible to see their faces and how surprised they were in the meetings they were able to set up. The people, the connections, the private roundtables, Brendan Wallace's climate event, how awesome that is, Lineage and their discussion. What do you love most about this since you're behind the scenes?
Ooh. Some of the things you mentioned are probably on my list. I love hearing that people had productive meetings. I think one of the most important things we ship at Blueprint are great meetings. So the more of that we can make, the better. We made a lot of the session setups better than last year, I hope.
hear everybody good at AV design. We want to keep production level high so that we can have the caliber of folks that choose to spend some time at Blueprint up on our stages and in the room. Let's respect those. And I'll be honest, my actual favorite thing is the work that Jake, our designer, did for the sound and video design on the big stage. I hope you guys had a chance to catch that.
Oh yeah, I loved how you broke it up, especially the Property Brothers and the thesis-driven segments.
Sure.
Those were so cool. Like some people mentioned Pete Flynn, but I love the deep dives. I think a lot of things can stay topical, but you broke it up between panelists, firesides, and deep dive TEDx style.
Blueprint is so broad, right? We cover at least something in every major asset class. We cover at least a little bit in all of the different ways that properties can be found, acquired, managed, operated, disposed even. And so we have to go deep on at least a few things, to stay broad in at least a few things. Whenever they come to Blueprint and have the opportunity to learn something they hadn't learned before, borrow something from a different asset class, and maybe do a deal with the company that they hadn't even considered.
Derek,
yes.
where'd you
I have lots of questions, but let me start with something related to PropTech. So one area I'd like to see more traction in is digitization of assets and using the data layers to drive efficiencies. So you say that Blueprint gets better every year. I see it. Do you actually track any data as the conference happens to inform how to plan for next year?
You mean content-wise?
How we interact with each other at the site. Like, for example, you said you would like to see more meetings happen.
Sure.
So do you have data that you track to see improve it next year?
That's probably one of the biggest things that we do with the data. Handful of ways. People can request meetings in the app, so we can track how many meetings have happened, at least app-based connections and app-based meetings. We can take guesses based on beacon data for how many quick type interactions, like this one, happen at Blueprint as well. And we can take guesses as to how many people are in session rooms, in each booth, and so which affects the way that we think about and lay out the floor. That's not me. The team that does the venue ops is fantastic and extremely experienced. And if you've noticed differences in the flow this year versus last year, hopefully for the better, it's because we're paying attention to how people meet and gather and interact at Blueprint. We want that always be getting better.
Okay. So follow-up question. I understand that basically the day after this ends, you start planning for next year. And I don't think there's enough people that know how much work goes into this. So why don't you just tell them so that we can appreciate all your hard work?
Blueprint is a non-trivial endeavor to pull together. We have a team that's probably larger than you think that works on this all year to get this to happen. And so to the extent that we do a decent job, it's because we have a fantastic team that's always banging away at this. And we're actually starting to think about next year now. So it's not even next week.
Awesome.
It
I think
really
one
is
of the
one
cool
of-
things is is the badges. I think the signage, the direction finders, because there are so many things happening at once here. So you got something for everyone. If you're multifamily, if you're construction tech, you're an investor, you're a founder. So no, thank you for all the hard work you guys do. I love it. One of my favorite events of the year, and it just keeps getting better and better and better.
Kind words, Chris. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for being here, for doing this. Really, really appreciate it.
Awesome.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank
We're going to go over to Rach next. What else is something here? Doesn't have to be your favorite, but what is something that's interesting for that we should show someone?
that you should capture in your videos.
Yeah.
Right now.
The innovation stage here, that's pretty awesome. Equity Angels here.
Capture the new setup for the innovation stage.
Okay.
Where we changed the prominence and the setup of the innovation stage this year in a way that I think is really cool.
Equity Angels are fantastic, and so to the extent you want to capture some of that or talk to Kenya.
Just interviewed them, yeah.
Okay, fantastic. You should.
Let's see the golf. You have the golf simulator over here. It's pretty cool. Meeting tables in the back for meetings and food. You do the food on the meeting hall. It's pretty engaging.
Got to do it. That way, while you're eating, you can still take meetings. Again, we ship meetings at Blueprint.
Can I request that there be more puppies next year?
Puppies are a hit.
Brilliant. I didn't know the company Endpoint until I saw their name on it. And I was like, this is the most brilliant marketing.
I hope it resulted in you talking to them.
Absolutely. We went over and interviewed them. Had to.
Okay,
and then
fantastic.
I also what I love is you give an opportunity to small startups who couldn't otherwise afford to be here partnering with Matt Knight and his nonprofit. So
Sure.
we interviewed him briefly. But I think the engagement of the full life cycle of a business.
We try to make Blueprint accessible for companies at almost every stage. And if you go take a look in the back, you'll see our smaller size kiosks. They're extremely affordable.
Yeah. PropTech Scout has a whole section there.
Fantastic. Oh, of course. And we partner with firms like PropTech Scout to like bring some of these things together, so that even companies that maybe would want to come with a group can have that happen at Blueprint. There's a number of ways we try to make that easy through Matt Knight and Fire, through connections with fantastic partners. The larger size kiosks are a new thing this year for firms that maybe would want a booth but have never had a booth and don't really have a booth set up. There's a booth-like experience that we try to make easy for people. Capture some of that if you want. The new screens, I'm really excited about our new screens. That might be worth a look, both here and at the track rooms.
This is great.
Check out the robots. We've got robots wandering the floor. You got to go see the
We're
robots.
about to interview someone with robots. So yeah.
Love it. Fantastic.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Dude, awesome.
We'll see you soon.
Thank you for being here and for doing this. Really appreciate it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to move down towards the Reach area, and we're going to interview Brian now. So Brian.
Thank you very much for bringing this out.
So let's maybe we'll head over this direction towards Reach in the background. Awesome. And we have Eric behind the video here, just stepped in to do awesome
Camera work.
So we're gonna head over here, and then if you don't mind, maybe I'll have you stand right over here, Brian. Oh, we'll have you come over here, and then I'm gonna go grab some waters for us. So if it's okay, I'm gonna have Eric interview. Sure. But I'll do the kickoff, which is Brian and I got to meet each other in Atlanta, Georgia, and Brian is with a firm that I think is doing incredible things. It's backed, so it's Atlanta Ventures, which is backed by great founders, people who are operators. Actually don't have a lot of experience as much in real estate, but now they're doing it and they're moving.
They've built the fourth biggest tech hub, and they're really excited to build what hopefully will be the biggest tech hub in the world. I mean, it's Startup City.
Building one of the best communities I've been fortunate enough to be around and be a part of in Atlanta. What is it, 1,300 founders and operators work out of that tech hub. As you mentioned, the fourth largest. They're going to build the largest tech hub, I believe, in the world over the next 30, 40 years in downtown. So maybe can you share a little bit about that downtown project, the South Downtown project, the work that Atlanta Ventures does, and how you're a part of that, and the build company you're building. What you can share, of course.
Of course. So they are innovators that have built this incredible community in Buckhead. And David and the team are successful founders helping build Calendly, SalesLoft, a number of other incredible tech companies. And they really are passionate about the Atlanta community. And so there was this opportunity to purchase 10 blocks of old downtown Atlanta, and redevelop it into something brilliant right next to amazing Georgia State and Mercedes-Benz. And so they're working really, really hard right now on phase one, which they call the L, to do a bunch of mixed use and retail along the way to the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, where the World Cup is happening in under 2 years. And so they're really focused on that. They're continuing to be, leading technology people in Atlanta. So I work with the tech arm, Atlanta Ventures, which is kind of the parent organization. And I'm a studio entrepreneur. So what I'm personally working on is a proactive security concept that as soon as somebody comes onto a site, we're dispatching robotic security guards to go talk to them, deter them from taking any property, getting too far onto the property. And so it's definitely, I think in 10 years, you're going to see robot security guards everywhere.
Okay, this is good. We're going to get to have a debate here.
Okay.
So you're solving, and I think what's cool, I've been able to meet with the team. Number one of the most communicative firms I've ever seen in Atlanta Ventures.
Yeah.
Doing updates every week, whether
They're
it's
building
John
in public,
Birdsong, AT, Catherine, Lauren, and David Cummings as well with their updates and support. So you got to check out their blog online. But I will ask you, when you're working on this challenge around robotics, right? It's very expensive. A lot of founders and investors will not support hardware. They'll just do software.
Yeah.
What's your take on that? Have they been so, has it been hard to get capital, or is that something that people are starting to move more towards?
You know, I'm in a very fortunate spot that I've partnered with David. And so what we're doing, we're immediately seeing ROI on, we don't have to implement a different system. We don't have to do that. And so basically I can come in and compete on contracts, which is a great opportunity for us. And so the ROI is closer, and it's more tied to what real estate people actually care about and are spending money on. We're really interested though, because there's all these robots, from Boston Dynamics cost $75,000. Now there's new entrants onto the market that are providing very similar robotics for under $3,000. Wow. So there's a lot that is, it's just gonna change the entire industry. It's, I think, really at an inflection point. You read the news, not too grim, but on Ukraine, and like these things are already being used in that environment. I mean, DoD is force for innovation here, probably.
Oh yeah, Anduril, Palantir, all these companies are getting contracts. It almost taking a different approach. But I want to hand it over to Derek, my colleague. I know he's got some great questions too, so I want to make sure he can put those in.
All right. So first, what costs more, health insurance for a human or maintenance for a robot?
Not my robots. My robots have very good servicing.
Okay.
Full healthcare.
Full healthcare.
So they get do they get time off?
Yeah, of course. They go back to their charging base where they can charge and breathe and take some time off while one of their partners goes and patrols.
So how long are their shifts?
The shifts. So we do two models. One, we do patrols where they're regularly or at a random interval going and walking specific sites on the property. And so that's like 15 minutes. And then we have a responsive system. So somebody comes across the camera and it automatically deploys it. So a lot of the time they're going to be at the base charging.
Okay. And what do these robots look like? Because obviously we don't have one here. So just describe it.
All right. Well, if this is going on YouTube, this is what it looks like. So we're making them look as friendly as possible.
Okay, but how is that a deterrent if they look like? Do they look like puppies?
They do. We've taken inspiration from TV shows and stuff like that, where you have really friendly dogs. The really interesting thing with criminals versus non-criminals, there's an interesting research that if you play classical music, everyone is like, oh, it's fine, it's calming. Criminals are like actually a little uneasy by the classical music or this friendly face in a way. So I think the friendliness is
so you kill them with kindness.
We're not killing anybody, but we are being kind. That is true.
Until they go fully self-aware.
To be very, we will use people in the loop, definitely, on anything that we do. Thank you for that opportunity.
Okay, so Chris and I are having this debate about AI. I'll put it this way. I'm on Team Wall-E, where people will stop doing work and everything will be done by robots. And then he's on Team Star Trek, where productivity will skyrocket and it's going to enhance human civilization. What team are you on?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely on human. Like, if we're talking Elon. There will be people that are not achieving their potential, and that maybe this will alleviate.
Just jump to Team Wall-E.
But I think that there's a lot of people out there with a lot of ambition that are looking for meaning and ways to impact more people, and that robots is a way to impact a lot more people's lives by automating things and extending your reach on society.
Okay, so some more logistical questions. What does it take to start a robotics company today?
We're using off-the-shelf hardware and a lot of open source software, so it's never been easier.
Okay.
It's as inexpensive as it's ever been.
And then where do you manufacture?
We're using a Chinese manufacturer.
Okay, so headquartered in Atlanta.
Oh, we're not manufacturing robots. We're using off-the-shelf robots.
Got it. What kind of companies have off-the-shelf robots right now?
There's a good none. There's ones coming out every week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. And what is the average cost for a security robot at this point?
So before we add our modifications, the base package is under $3,000.
Wow. So can I just buy my own robot? Like,
You can easily buy your own robot. Everyone's talking about
I'm
it.
gonna buy a robot like right after.
Didn't
this.
Elon say people are
cool.
going to have 1 to 5 robots
I think
each?
so.
I know it happened. It's gonna happen.
Billions of robots around the world.
Yeah.
So you believe in robotics, obviously?
Yeah.
That they can use us. We can be using them in multiple different ways to support humans in their
Right.
jobs to do better. Is
To
it
live
replacing
happier,
jobs or is
healthier
it
lives.
healthier, happier lives? Love that.
I mean,
Safer lives.
Safer lives. I mean, I come from an education technology background. What excites me is about ensuring more people having safe communities that they can achieve more for themselves and their families. And so that's what our purpose is.
Awesome. Do you think you're gonna expand beyond security eventually?
Security means a lot of different things for a lot of different places, and so we're going to have these robot platforms in construction sites, and instead of just securing buildings, we already had somebody saying, "Oh, I need it to check doors," so we're going to need it to be able to check doors. Another company's like, "Can you have them take pictures for our job site update photos?" Like, the platform's there. There's a lot of opportunities you can do on top of it.
Oh, actually, going back to the security experience, what if there is someone with some evil intent to get onto a site and just steal copper or something like that? What do the robots do?
Yeah, so the vision is that someone comes on the property, the lights will automatically change, and then they come further on the property. The first quadruped has already been deployed to go speak to them. And so before they've even gotten any buildings, they're like being talked to by a quadruped with a person. That person is gauging, okay, it's, at 2 a.m., this person has driven a truck through the fence. They're going to call the police.
Got it. So
Right
the robots
there.
themselves can't
And
commit
then
assault or anything
They
like
come
that.
further onto the property, and they're now going to be surrounded by a fleet
Got it.
of quadrupeds.
Okay.
They're going to be deterring them from going
But
any further.
what if someone just starts straight up fighting the quadrupeds? What can they do against it without breaching some legal or ethical boundaries?
Well, they can make really loud noises like that,
Okay.
Which is great.
The human will probably win.
The human will win, but it'll be a distraction. What we really believe is a lot of the people that do this are career criminals, and they're going to crime no matter what we do. We want it to be harder to crime on our construction sites than it is elsewhere. We want them to just crime elsewhere.
Okay.
So I got another question for you, Brian. There's a lot of distractions when you're a founder.
Yeah.
You're getting asked to go in a million different ways and places. Trade shows especially can be very distracting and a big, potentially waste of time. This is your first time at Blueprint. Did you find value as an early stage founder in coming here? And what was that for you?
I found a lot of value in talking to other PropTech startups that are giving me advice on how they're going to market. Like, we're really focused on distribution in our studio, and so talking through that, it's been really helpful for me. Talking to investors who are saying, here's where we could see it being used, or here's what other things that I haven't seen. Like, in terms of all the research, you're always asked to do a million research things for a startup. So having access to all these people that's like, boom, 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 here's all this information is always so helpful. And we're not raising right now, right? And so that's a great place to be in for an early stage founder that, in 6 months, in 12 months, when we're looking to raise, here's the journey since I talked to you at Blueprint when I was at this point in time and how much progress. It's been great from that perspective as well. And talking to some property developers, managers has also been really helpful for thinking through and, hopefully one day potential sales.
Get those customers, yeah.
Get those customers.
Any potential customers yet, or can you talk about that? Or not yet?
Not right now.
Not yet. Okay, can't talk about it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for spending the time with us,
No,
man.
thank you guys
Best
very
of luck.
much. Really
yeah,
appreciate
see you
it.
back in Atlanta.
That'd be
Sure.
great. All right, I'm
See you
heading
soon.
out.
All right, Brian. Thanks so
Hey,
much.
enjoyed it.
Cheers. Fly safe.
Okay.
All right, let's
Oh,
head
I
over
see
here.
a Jenga game over
We're gonna
here.
go over here to the Jenga. So hang out with Bob and the Reach. Can we don't want to interrupt.
Yeah, no.
Can we hop in? Okay.
No, we're doing it.
Go ahead and grab a seat. I got you a water too.
But yeah, get it lined up so then I can. It's better to take it as a done deal to them. And then also, you're on the night. You're on tonight. Yeah. Yeah. Like float it to let Tyler know. Yeah, he'll be around tonight.
So luckily, we already prepped many of our people as we walk through, just to let them know we're not breaking up too many discussions. But Bob Gillespie, we're at the NAR Reach booth. Reach is an incredible program. For those of you who don't know, I think you're up to 290 portfolio companies.
Yeah, by the end of the year, we'll get like 300.
300 companies. Okay, so Reach, I think one of the things I would love to hear just briefly, you're a fund and an accelerator, or is that correct? Okay.
Yeah, so the National Association of Realtors is our umbrella organization. So they're our overarching entity. Then they created back in the late aughts. It's always a fun word to say. A venture fund. They gave us some capital, and we created Second Century Ventures as a venture fund tasked with investing in emerging PropTech.
Amazing. So
what we did is that for about 2007 through about 2013, we wrote a handful of checks. DocuSign being the big one that we wrote a check into in 2008. That was a good idea. But what we realized is that with the size and breadth of the National Association of Realtors, while we could write the check, we weren't really being very efficient in then helping and being smart capital. We would deploy the capital, but we didn't have any function in which to then say, okay, let's leverage the National Association of Realtors, let's leverage our relationships, and let's programmatically work with you. So when Second Century Ventures writes a check to you, that we now work with you and we get you ingrained and we get you, introduced to all of our companies and all that kind of stuff. So what we did is Second Century Ventures is a strategic investment arm, but we created Reach programs underneath that. Right. We have 7 programs. We have Reach Residential, so that's sort of single-family home related, anywhere from the building of the home all the way through the selling it, and insurance and fintech and earnest money, anything that is involved with the single-family process. That's Reach Resi. I'm the managing partner of Reach Commercial, so I'm focused on the commercial real estate technology solutions.
And commercial can include multifamily, industrial,
we focus. Yeah, it's any of the core assets. Really, it's broker-facing solutions, and then it's multifamily owner operator, property manager, developer. Right. Really pretty wide. We're almost dirt to destruction. We don't do a lot of construction tech, but anywhere sort of in the life in the value chain life cycle. So we Second Century Ventures, we have Reach that's under that. Reach is a programmatic. People use the word accelerator. I prefer the word scale up because we're not an incubator for sure. Okay. We're definitely, you have an idea, you built the thing, you've got good traction, and now you want to come to us and really scale it up. So we put you through the Reach program. We work with you about 6 months, introduce people like you, introduce you to our network, NAR, brokers, owner operators, managers. We work on scaling you up. And then when that's done, sometimes even during the program, then Second Century Ventures will then take a follow-on check and then write that into the Reach company.
Awesome. Great. And I want to hand it over to Derek to be able to ask some questions as well.
Great.
All right. So what are some of the biggest problems you would like to see solved right now?
Oh, man, it sprung that one on me. Yep. I think, actually, I'll do one that's not even solution-based. I think that this is good evidence of this. There's so many great solutions out there. I think what we sort of need now, and I think it kind of started yesterday with the rate cut, is we really haven't had any liquidity since COVID. Not really. I mean, the economy's been good. The stock market's at an all-time high. All things are happening. But because the interest rates going way up, that's going to clamp down on liquidity. Cap rates going way down. Sorry, clamps down on liquidity. So I think with interest rates lowering, cap rates hopefully lowering, people would make more money. People not being upside down on their mortgages, both in commercial and residential. I think what we need is the macro environment to improve, and then I think the PropTech will be off and running, because I think we've been priming the pump for years now, and I think this event is a good bellwether of all the incredible solutions that are out there.
Well, if anything, I'm going to take an opposite stance here, because I think the current macro environment helps weed out the weaker companies.
That's absolutely true.
Because you either survive or you die, because you really have to prove out value in your product. Because the customers are trying to trim their OPEX in this environment, because their interest rates are basically squeezing their OPEX.
Absolutely.
So there's no room to actually experiment with early stage PropTech that hasn't been proven yet.
I agree. And I think one thing that there's a couple phrases we use. One, I think that people want to be a unicorn. Great, that's fine. But I think first you need to be a cockroach, an unkillable cockroach. If you can be an unkillable cockroach first,
Yes.
then you can turn into a turtle, then you can turn into a stallion, then you turn into a dragon or whatever, and then you turn into a unicorn, right? But you got to be a cockroach first. You have to be. You got to be unkillable. But you're right. I think that the state of venture capital, not just us, I think everybody, you no longer get money to continue to try to figure it out. You get money to figure it out first, and then if you haven't figured it out, then that's it. We don't give money for second and third chances to try to figure it out, which wasn't the case in 2017-18. The tightening of capital markets really said, hey, man, here's your money to figure it out. Did you figure it out? Because if you did, now we can talk about scale. But if you haven't figured it out, that sort of subsistence capital isn't a thing anymore.
So this will be interesting because Chris and I have been having this debate throughout this whole stream about Team Bootstrap, which I'm on, versus Team VC. And you being in venture capital, I thought this would be more biased, but given what you just said, you might partially be on my team. So what do you like to see? I mean, I'm clearly, I'm a fan of cockroaches, but I love to see the cockroaches turn into dragons and unicorns on their own. So what do you like to see before you actually start funding?
Yeah, I think that we're finding a lot of our founders now are saying, I need to get to break even. Like that money hole doesn't exist anymore. Like that's just that money pit where you keep piling money into it and we'll figure out a thing that doesn't exist anymore. So what I like to see is I like to see companies that are the easy stuff. Do we have a differentiated product that's cool, that's going to win? Okay, that's table stakes. Once we have that, then have we shown product market fit? Are we starting to grow? Does our scale look good? Is our opportunity to scale? Is your market big enough? Are you capturing that market? And then I'd like to see your burn start to go down. So for me, I think that one thing that I always want to ask somebody is, if I write you a check right now, am I investing in product development? Am I investing in customer acquisition? Are we investing in scale? Like, where are we at? I really like to sort of, your products, like, I don't want to hear that I'm investing in you to build a boatload more product features. I don't want that. Let's get that done and then let's sell. To me, that's sort of, tell me that you're growing a 43%, compounded annual growth rate, and that you did $1 million, then you did $2 million, then you did, $3 million, now you're doing $6 million, you do $9 million. Tell me that.
Yeah, and I think being part of NAR, I think you guys basically have this massive built-in customer base. But like I was saying before, we're not in an environment where people are willing to experiment, but your major value add is that you can deploy to all these brokers out there, and owners and operators, multifamily developers, et cetera, et cetera. So do you find in this environment, well, I think it's kind of a double-edged sword because PropTech is starting to become much more mainstream. There's a lot more founders out there, there's a lot more companies. But in the case you were saying before, you want to see something that's clearly differentiated. I see companies out there that feel like they're the first one to do something, and they're the first out of 100.
There are no new ideas. None. There's no new ideas. There aren't. I mean, there is. I mean, facetious, but when somebody tells me that nobody else is doing it, no, there's somebody in Boulder, there's somebody in the Valley, there's somebody in LA, there's somebody in New York, there's 2 guys in Boston, there's guys in Chicago. Like there are new ideas. There have to be, but somebody's working on what you're working on, and sometimes it's not even other startups. It's a brokerage house building their own tool, or because that's still part of our industry. Is people want to build stuff in house because they still think it's a differentiated offering instead of having somebody else build it and then license it.
Yeah. So with the customers that you are connected with, how do you help them choose a product that is truly differentiated?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the value is generally apparent, I think, but I think one thing that you're saying is very correct is the days of, hey, we'll try any, some people will still try anything. And they'll just give it a shot, and they have labs and they do it. Those are very forward-looking organizations. But I think that you are very correct that the question now is, does this drive NOI? Does this,
Which should have been the question all along.
It should have been a question all along.
But now the capital is tight.
Right, but when cap rates are 4% versus 8%, you feel a lot more wealthy and you're a lot more, you're ready to splash capital around a little bit more.
Yeah. So what are some of the more interesting ideas you've seen?
Oh boy, I mean, there's so many. We've got 7 new companies in my cohort this year. Let's see. For me, I sort of tend to wait for the emerging technology to become a product before I invest in it. So while AI has been around for a little while now, I kind of waited 2 years before I picked a couple of AI companies. I waited 2 years before I kind of got on the ESG.
No, it's prudent.
Decarbonization, right? Other people are like, no, I'm doing this and I'm going to invest in 35 decarbonization companies. And I don't, for me, maybe I'm not smart enough, but I don't know how you pick a winner so early. So I'll just pick a couple this year that we're doing. We're using. Are we looking at this? I got this. I know these already, but we're good. No, we're fine. So I'll just pick the first two, so I don't pick anybody. Let's go with Incentivine. So Incentivine is
Natalie Goodman, right?
Natalie Goodman. So Natalie's in our portfolio. Incentivine is there are $70 billion of incentives that governments will give out to greenify your building, to do simple things like put in better energy saving light bulbs on both the commercial and on the residential side. So, but they're hard to find. They're changing all the time. They vary by state. It's a pain in the ass to find these incentives.
Yeah.
So she's basically collected all these incentives, put them on one platform. You can go in, you can put your address, and she will tell you here's all the incentives you can find. You can click, they'll fill out the paperwork, and you get a check. Gorgeous, beautiful solution.
Yeah, I think that's like one of the clear cases where there's an obvious NOI or ROI right from the get-go.
Yeah.
Like, they just take a cut. You only make they only make money if you make money.
Right. Why would you say no to doing that?
Yeah.
So that's I think that's one. That's this one's in front of me. And let's go with Infinity. I was just talking to Jim. Basically, this is a personal story too. I just moved. I moved from my house from Chicago. I moved to Dallas. Or an empty nester, so I moved and rented an apartment now. Well, when we looked at apartments, it was a nightmare to find out what does it look like, what neighborhood is it in, does it have a pool, what's the work of it, all of that stuff. They have a website. I go and click up, but it's not very engaging. You can't really get any differentiation. So what Infinity does is they can basically take all the property data, ingest it, and now when you're on the website, you click on the little widget and you can ask the AI, the Infinity thing, all the things about the property. And it's not just a little AI chatbot. It's not chatbots we're used to. It's like, can you tell me about the neighborhood? Can you show me about the restaurants that are in the neighborhood? It'll show you on Google Maps. It integrates with things. It can show you, here's the drive to your bank. Here's what the pool looks like. How many units you have available? Here's the floor map. It's really AI-enabled platform to be really engaging for the leasing agents.
Yeah, and Jim was actually on the stream just maybe 15 minutes ago.
So those are just two of them.
Actually, I got another question. Maybe you can build on some of what Jim said, because I threw a tough one at him. I feel like the term AI is drastically overused at this point.
Sure.
And it means so many different things that it almost means nothing. So what do you think it means? And if we can change the terminology, what do you think we should use instead?
Well, that's the first. So I'm a computer science major back in college a long time ago, but maybe I'm a dummy. But I took an artificial intelligence class, in 1989 or something, and it's obviously wildly different now. But AI is, in my opinion, is merely the ability to process data way faster,
Extremely large scale,
extremely quickly. Is it intelligent? I don't know if it's intelligent. I think that it
gives the illusion.
It gives the illusion of it, but all it's doing is if you can read the entire Encyclopedia Britannica and ingest that into one thing, but then you can also, the artificial intelligence part is it start to make inferences now using computers that you couldn't do before. To me, that's what it is. Let's use a simple example. If somebody buys a crib, and they're probably also going to start buying diapers, probably, right? But if you take those two things in a bubble, you can just say, well, that person bought a crib, and then they also bought diapers. Fantastic. But then intelligence says, well, they're clearly are planning to have a baby. They're about to have a baby. It's artificial intelligence start to infer knowledge based off of these facts, but it can do it at a rapid rate on incredibly massive data sets, and it can start to be like, hey, do you know that if you take these supposedly disparate pieces of data and you put them together, it gives you an insight? To me, that's what sort of artificial intelligence is. I don't mind the term artificial intelligence, but it's really just massive, fast processing data at a rate that has never been done before. So I think the thing that's fascinating is not really in our industry, but I think that when you can start to do things like, let's take every medical case ever, and let's plug all those medical cases into a thing, and you can start to be, I'm going to make something up that isn't real. Hey, when your foot hurts, maybe that means that you have, maybe you've got Parkinson's disease. Now, I'm making something completely idiotic up. But by looking at millions of medical records, millions of cases, you can start to track disease. You can start to track,
in a way that humans cannot do.
Can't do it because you just can't do it. But computers don't care, and they work faster than our brains can ever work. So that's, to me, sort of the promise of it. I think maybe when I'll buy into artificial intelligence when it can do things that we can't explain. Like, can it write something? Can it write a Shakespearean work of art? Can it do that? Can it write a funny joke? Can it write Pulp Fiction? Can it create the things that our brains are so good at? Things are artistic, things you can't explain. When a 4-year-old can pick up a violin and play it, we can't explain how that happens. Like, that's when it's going to, I think what's scary is when it starts to replace human ingenuity and human creativity. Right now, it's just a big giant data processing engine, I think.
I mean, it's reached a point where it's a black box where it's so sophisticated. We understand the structure of it, but we don't understand why it's so good at what it does. So I don't think it's going to be too long before we get to the point you're talking about.
I think it'll be interesting. I mean, I think we went from when computers couldn't beat people in chess to now it can look at every single move. Any move you make, it can permutate every single possibility from here to the end of the game, regardless. You can't beat it because it knows it can play a perfect game of chess.
Yeah.
That wasn't possible even. I don't know, when did Kasparov lose? 20 years ago, 15 years ago? To Big Blue. That's right. He lost to Big Blue.
Yeah. Deep Blue.
Deep Blue. Yeah. So when it can start to do that with other things that are going to be less mathematically oriented, I think that'll be when things start to get a little
I mean, Watson won
crazy.
Jeopardy. And
Yeah,
that was maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah, and that makes complete sense, right? That's just going to crawl a fact quick, but then you can pull it out of your head. To me, that seems relatively obvious. Chess to Jeopardy. I think it'll be interesting when,
I think DeepMind beat Go, the top Go player, because
Okay.
that was significantly more difficult to do than chess.
Yeah, and that'll be, I think things will get creepy when does computer win the Oscar for best screenplay.
Oh yes.
That'll be when it writes a movie and you're like, holy cow. I mean, when it writes, I'm a big movie guy. When it writes Pulp Fiction, and it's not saying you can go into massive ChatGPT. You can go in and you can say write this in the style of.
But you still have to prompt it correctly.
Right, you have to tell it write
Press the
this
right
in this
buttons.
write this in the style of Quentin Tarantino, and it can do that. But it's just it's a facsimile.
It won't do it on its own.
Right, it can't go create a beautiful piece of art yet. Visually, I think it can, but it's copying things that existed. It doesn't come up with something new on its own.
Although, I mean, that's a philosophical point, and if you don't mind us going into this.
No, sure.
It's to your point earlier, there are no new or original ideas. And for screenplays, I think there's a quote out there that there's only 12 different types of stories out there. And everything else is just a variation of everything else, amalgamation of existing stories.
Sure. I mean, even Tarantino watched all the Japanese, he took a ton of
he's a
stuff.
huge Kurosawa
Kurosawa,
fan.
yeah, exactly right. But he did create this new thing that nobody ever seen before.
Yeah.
And I think, but I think that's a good philosophical. Is our human brains just going to be influenced by things, and computers be influenced by it in the same way?
Yeah.
Right. I think it's interesting. Where will the next great painter? He learned from obviously looking at Picasso and Monet and what else people did, and now he created this new thing. When do computers have that ability to not be sort of derivative of?
Yeah. To take the leap forward, for example, Impressionists. They just broke
utterly
the mold of classical
changed
Renaissance art.
Exactly.
And so that'd be interesting to see if AI can make those leaps on its own.
It'll be very interesting and scary.
Okay. So actually, one more question.
And enslave us.
I guess he's more on Team Skynet rather than Team Wall-E or Team Star Trek.
Well, I mean, I don't know, man. I think sometimes I look at where we're headed as a society and don't think that we're prepared for the technology that we're creating.
I'm excited. I don't think Team Skynet will happen because, we'll see if we hit a singularity. That's totally unpredictable past that point. Actually, I want to ask a more human question now. What do you look for in founders? Because going back to my debate with Chris about venture capital versus bootstrapping, a bootstrapper has to prove themselves because their validation comes straight from their customers because they're always trying to win customer dollars. Whereas a VC will choose a founder because they believe they can do that at scale with customers in the future. So what do you do to predict whether a founder is capable of doing that?
I mean, I think we think about this a lot. We try to pattern match. I've invested in 45 companies in the last 6 years at Reach, and then another 31 before that when I was at Elm Spring, which got acquired by Reach. So I've done 76 deals. And then when one might not go the way that you want, I try to pattern match back and find out, where there's signals on that. I think, one, honesty is a big giant one. If you come to me and you sort of feed me a line of, hey, this is you paint an overly rosy picture, that's going to be a terrible sign. And that's generally, those are the ones that I find out later on. Hey, you put an overly rosy picture on something. That's probably a good sign that you're not going to be successful. Because I think that then you're hoping as a strategy. So I think being honest and open, I think, is a big giant one. I think you got to be tough. I don't like any founder who whines and there's always an excuse or, I think being tough and resilient is a really big one. Any of my founders that are whining, like, don't go do startups. Wear a cup or a helmet, whatever you need to do, because it's not easy. Nobody owes you anything. I think that people are like, well, that guy got money. Why didn't I get money? Well, you know what? Don't worry about that. You take care of your stuff. Being coachable. I think, being experienced. I think, I think that all the data shows that, people who've done it before have better ability to do it again. Not really like sort of, new answers that you probably haven't gotten from other VCs, but tough, resilient, honest. I like people who are connected to the industry. I like people who are coachable. And then I also like people that don't want to just talk about work all the time. Like, I like to, if I'm going to invest in somebody, I want them to be an enjoyable person. I sort of have a rule that I won't invest in you if I don't want to go to dinner with you.
Got it.
So I think I'm going to bring in one of your portfolio.
Oh no, God no.
Oh, Natalie.
Let's do it. We were just talking about you.
Yeah. Here's what we're going to do. So I think what we're going to do is actually bring Natalie, switch spots with you. Is that cool?
Yeah, no worries.
Tie it up.
Super interesting conversation.
Great.
Enjoyed it.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're going to bring in Natalie.
It's okay.
So what we're going to do, I'm going to tell the co-host in here that the battery is running low. So what we're going to do is actually, we're going to turn this off to plug that in. So we're going to turn this off. We're going to keep. Can you hear us okay? Go ahead and turn the volume up.
Yep.
Can they hear us okay? Is the audio okay and clear?
All good, all good.
You can hear it. Great. You can hear us. So just speak to this. And then we're gonna plug it in. You got one right there? Okay. So yeah, maybe we'll start over here. Thank you. Let me make sure I turn that off. So first off, want to hear about your company and maybe a little bit about your founder journey, what you're working on. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, so Natalie Goodman, Incentifine. We're your incentive resource from search to savings. Our story is that I'm an architect, so a non-technical background. We saw a problem in commercial and residential real estate here in the United States, and that was $70 billion is available every single year for green building, so energy efficiency, water conservation, renewables, electric vehicles. Yet over half of these incentives go unclaimed. And the question was, well, why are so many property owners leaving money on the table? No one made these incentives searchable until Incentifine. So while we're a happy accident, we love delivering cost savings to, projects that are green. So it can be like a hotel like the one we're sitting in might be doing an energy efficiency HVAC upgrade. There's money on the table for them from 5 levels of government.
What it sounds like is that it's a no-brainer. Like you're basically finding money for companies. Okay, just developers as well.
Yep.
And then you have the commercial side, you have the construction side, redevelopment. Are you doing single family, or is that a sector you're breaking into?
Yeah, that's a great question. We actually just launched in the residential sector. Okay. We just put our products in the residential sector. Okay. It's funny enough, CoreLogic is sitting next to us. You can find our residential data in CoreLogic. Wow. And that use case is, just a great way to touch the 125 million homes that are in the United States to provide data on all of the home improvement projects that homes have to go through. They age on 5 and 10 year intervals, and so it's good for homeowners to know all the incentives available.
Awesome. This is very good. And I'm going to hand it over to Eric and Derek as well in a moment. But what I want to ask you is, you've got into the NAR Reach program. Can you share a little bit about what NAR helped with to go into their program?
Yeah, Reach was a no-brainer for incentive.
Hey, we can't hear you. Hello?
And we're charging.
Okay.
Hey,
awesome. Sweet.
No, so as I was saying, joining Reach was a no-brainer. If you want to scale in residential commercial real estate, you need relationships. That's what Reach offers. So, Incentivine is now at a point, we have the products, we have the data, we have, the use cases. How do we scale this? And so it's those B2B relationships, and Reach was a perfect fit for that.
Got it. So to homes, you might be going through partners as
Yeah.
opposed to going direct. That makes sense.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we have a debate. Do you want to let you? This is Derek.
We're debating about whether bootstrapping or VC funding is the better route to go.
Oh,
and I'm
man.
totally on team bootstrap.
Yeah.
He's totally on team VC. What do you think?
Well, I mean, for us, we started, bootstrapping. It was really difficult to convince investors, hey, we want to aggregate one of the messiest data sets in real estate. We have no idea how this is going to work out, but please give us money, right? And the Department of Energy had failed, by the way, at doing this several times. So we had to bootstrap. So I know that journey, and it's tough. I mean, a lot of nights, you're eating the basics, right? There's no luxurious living. But I will say, if you find the right investors, going that VC route can really open doors. So I feel like we've seen the best of both worlds on that side. I don't know if that was the tiebreaker you guys were looking for, but
I'm going to say my side, which is I think the strategics.
Yes,
Yeah, absolutely right. Like as long as you can bootstrap, and I know some founders who are putting their own capital because they've been successful before. They're bringing in very strategic capital.
Yeah.
That can help them. Can sign an LOI or sign a contract, make introductions, get them in the door. And to me, that's all. Capital is a commodity.
Yeah.
But if you can find people who come in and actually spend the time with you, I've heard people from some of the biggest firms provide some of the least amount of help, whereas some of the smaller firms provide some of the outsized support, especially angels. So have you seen that already?
Yeah, we have. I think from our investors, we looked for a few things. Are they knowledgeable in our space? If they weren't, it was a no-go. I mean, don't get me wrong, it'd be nice to accept that check, but it's going to come, like you said, with a give, right, and a take. So for us, it was, do you know commercial real estate? Do you know residential real estate? Do you have a clue about incentives? Because they're, a beast on their own. And I'm happy to say that all of our investors know a lot about the space we're in. And one of them actually consumes our data for their real estate portfolio. So I feel like they really walk the talk, which is, I think, pretty rare.
Awesome. And obviously being in Reach, they invest across so many different things, from things that are broker related, that are incentive related, government, insurtech, fintech. You kind of see it all. Is it almost like you are getting an education there on all these different sectors and maybe ideas about where you can take your business and not take your business?
Yeah, a ton of ideas. The one problem, and I'm sure a lot of startups have this problem, is that our data set is very deep and wide. So it's all about where do we put our focus? Because you only get so much money, right? And we saw that immediately after our seed round. It was, okay, great, we have some money and customers were coming to us. Very sexy logos were coming to us. We wanted to help them all. We immediately were spread thin.
Sure.
So what's been also great about Reach is hyper focusing on what's working from not only a persona, but also an asset type, a use case type. And they've really helped us. We call it ruthless prioritization. They've really helped us nail that in both sectors. And I appreciate that exercise because I feel like now we're working more efficiently.
Great. Awesome. Yeah. Well, what else, do you have any other questions?
Yes.
I want to make sure you both.
Yeah, you brought up the point that the Department of Energy failed to give away free money.
I know.
Let me emphasize how ridiculous that is. So that is why you started your business. And historically, I mean, I've scoured the world for lots of different PropTech sectors, and incentives is a very lonely place.
I know.
There's not many companies out there that focus on this.
Yeah.
You are one of the only ones in this space. So what is the competitive landscape like? And where do you think it's going?
Yeah, no, appreciate it. So going back to the DOE comment, to be fair to our government, by the way, we work with them, love them dearly. We're not really running to the polls as citizens and saying, hi, I want to give my government a marketing budget to tell me about these incentives. So to be fair, I think our government was looking for a private sector solution, right? We're happy to be that. You're right. There are not a lot of folks in this space. It's incredibly lonely. We find ourselves at the forefront of a lot of education, which is also what Reach has helped us with, right? Refining that message and not trying to take on educating an entire, real estate market.
where are incentives going? Well, the vision for Incentifine is we want to give away the $70 billion, right? See how it's used. We're actually garnering market interest and demand for going green, and our poor government has no feedback loop. In other words, they're giving away incentives, hoping that you want them, right? That you're going to use them. But the reality is they don't actually know what you're searching for, what you want to search for, and what you want to capture. So by giving the government this feedback loop, what is that market interest and demand? We can actually change these policies. That's what incentives are. And they can better work for our real estate environment. In other words, they can meet the needs of what the market is actually demanding. And we find that pretty exciting.
So what do you think are some of the bottlenecks? And maybe you can give us examples of some just really poor programs where it was just hard to give out money, whether it be that people were not educated about it or the restrictions were just so high that nobody who applied was able to get it. Just tell us how you think it could be improved and what examples were kind of terrible.
Yeah. Oh, man. I think there's a lot of programs that are great and there's a lot that struggle. And the ones that are great, I'll tell you, they make the applications generic enough. For example, it supports all energy efficiency. If we look at the portfolio companies in Reach, there's constant, newer technologies that are coming out. These policies can't have a list of every, possible technology. So by making a program generic, it can automatically encompass this new technology that's coming out constantly, right? The programs that don't work are too specific. They have too much red tape. They want pre-construction photos. They want a lot of measurement and verification data. Owners, they want to go green and they want to abide by these rules. But if you put too many restrictions, which we do measure, by the way, and share that utilization, if you put too many restrictions, it's a no-go, right? Now the owner's spending money on meeting all of these qualifications for the incentives.
So what is your success rate in your applications versus, say, just a private real estate developer or landlord just trying to apply on their own?
Well, the reality is, and we've been talking to a lot of the owners here, they don't even apply to the incentives. They don't have
Knowing
time.
is half the battle.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also just having somebody dedicated. Let's pretend I'm a developer and I brought, Joe on for a specific task. And now I'm going to saddle Joe with doing these incentive applications. I'm not putting my employee to the best use in his expertise. I'm also probably going to lose Joe because that's not what he signed up for. So the second owners find out that we're going to take over this cumbersome process and give them cash back, I mean, they're thrilled. They're like, yes, I can put my employees back to work. They're not Google searching for this stuff. So I'd say, success rate, well, knowing many owners that don't even apply, it's pretty high, right? Yeah.
Okay, so what do you see of the future of your business? How many states are you in right now?
So we're in all 50 states for both residential and commercial. Where we're headed now, we've had property-specific data. So in other words, you could throw any address in the United States. It could be existing building, a plot of land. We just need that USPS address. And we can send you all available incentives for that property. Where we're headed next is geographic incentives. So what I mean by that is, let's pretend you're a developer and you have a new, new home master plan community. And you're trying to figure out, you're a green developer, you're trying to figure out what's the best state that I can get a ton of incentives for my green home development. You might overlay our data and say, well, is Texas great for that? Is California? Is Oregon? So that geographic data is going to be great for developers of both, acquisitions, but also new construction developments.
Yeah. So, do you see any trends or patterns in where the government money is flowing, whether it be at the federal level or state level or city level?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of trends. They vary by asset type. So I'll go through our top 3 asset types. For hotels, energy efficiency is great. It's very lucrative, but we get to introduce water conservation, which most hotel brands didn't even realize there were incentives for that. A ton of water usage goes on in hotels, right? The same thing for multifamily. So I love that. And our third asset type is conditioned warehouses. They are all looking at rooftop solar if it makes sense. And sometimes an incentive can really help that project pencil. So those are the kind of just a few trends, but every asset type, every geography has different trends. The one I find we get the most questions about are, what about the new green building mandates? There are mandates in about 44 cities. You can be fined if you don't meet these new green building mandates.
New York being one of the
Oh,
toughest.
absolutely.
Overall 97.
And I can tell you, when these mandates came out, the incentives, it spiked. Not just the searches, but the money's made available. So the government is really trying to pump funds anytime these new policies or mandates are also, brought up.
Okay. Do you do anything with affordable housing?
Yeah, we do actually.
Yeah, I mean, we've just been talking about sustainability and conservation, but what about, I mean, there's clearly a huge housing problem in multiple regions of the United States. So how do you see the money flowing there, and what's effective right now?
Yeah, so for affordable housing, it's actually a really interesting space. For those who address affordable housing, whether it's single family for rent, new construction, single family homes, or multifamily, there's a boost in incentives. So for example, let's say I'm a multifamily owner and I want to do energy efficiency. And I might do like an upgrade in lighting. If I have an affordable housing aspect, I can actually get 25, 35, 50, 75% more of that incentive money. So in other words, there's more money available if you check the box of affordable housing. And I think that's amazing, right? So there's just more money available to those types of assets.
Okay, so let's zoom into a specific region. I don't know how familiar you are with New York City, but affordable housing is a super touchy topic over there.
Yeah.
There's this eternal battle between the free market real estate and the mayor's office is always trying to create more affordable housing. I think they fumbled administration after administration.
Yeah.
And there is some middle ground there. I wish I saw more of. I've clearly been on the developer side, and I'm totally free market. I've just been avoiding the market because there was a rent stabilization law, good cause eviction, that was just released, and essentially, I mean, it's politicians won't say it, but it's essentially universal rent control. Any free market apartment, outside of a few exceptions, are now subject to rent increase caps. So, first, what is your opinion on how to address the affordable housing situation? How can you do that properly through incentives? Because again, I think New York City has totally fumbled it. So what kind of policies would you like to see that really distribute the capital in an effective and efficient manner?
Oh, man. Okay, that's not a tough question at all. No, I think, again, if I come at it from just a pure incentives aspect, right? Because I think you're right, there's a lot more underlying issues there, right? That incentives can't really address. But what incentives can address is, I think the programs that I've seen where more money is available if they check the box of affordable housing, that's great. I mean, think about it. These folks need it. There's hardly any margins on these units, and I think it's fantastic that they offer them. We obviously have a need. So any amount of capital we can throw their way for making these, units energy efficient and water conserving, that saves on utility bills, which is what these folks need as well. I think we should offer more money, is what I'm trying to say, across the board in the United States, not just in certain markets.
That's interesting, because I don't think, at least in New York City, I haven't seen the marriage of the two between the government giving landlords incentives to lower their OPEX, but also tie it to lowering their rent. It's always like one or the other. It's like you lower your rent, and that's it.
Yeah.
There is no bonus for that.
I know.
And then on the other hand, it's like, oh, change your light bulb. We're going to give you some free money.
And I think they're why these policies are not married together. I couldn't tell you. Right?
Well, it's because there's different administration offices.
Yeah.
Like there's a city energy department, and then there's the housing department, and they don't talk to each other.
Absolutely.
So these programs are completely separate. So it's different applications.
Yeah, and I don't know if we'd have to wait till we get to phase 2 where we have that feedback loop to governments, but I wonder if when that solution is available, if that could be helpful to marrying, all these policies.
Well,
that
my
are
suggestion to you there, because I have been on this side, the feedback loop is actually lobbyists.
Yeah, we want to make it democratized, though,
Unfortunately, that's how the system works.
Yeah, I
if
know.
you have lobbyists and you can afford them, then it's a legal way to get politicians on your side.
Oh, 100%.
Not necessarily in your pocket.
I know.
Because
we're not going to ruffle any feathers with this at all.
Not at all. I mean, clearly I'm pushing a lot of buttons here.
No, I mean our solution. I know people have already mentioned that, and I think sometimes, I don't know, you just have to provide the solution regardless of whose feathers it's going to ruffle. And we plan to, you know, people deserve access to good data and they deserve access to that data, especially if it's going to serve them better in their built environment.
Yeah. Actually, on the topic of data, I will say, since I've been bashing New York so much, New York has probably hands down the best open data available in the world.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the site is called Open Data.
Nice.
Started by the Bloomberg administration. I think there's like several hundred free data sets out there, and it's like clean, consistent data. It's been tracked for, at this point, maybe 15 years. So if you guys watching are curious about data, go check it out.
Yeah, definitely. Go to New York on that aspect.
Yeah. Okay, so where else can we go with this?
Yeah,
Do we have
like-
somebody else coming? Or do you want to talk about anything
Sorry,
else?
no, I won't hog it.
Okay.
I promise. Sorry. Thank you so
All right,
much.
thank you so
We
much,
did this.
Natalie.
Bye, y'all.
Thank you so much, Natalie, for joining us.
All right,
we've
now
got a
we're
new
now we're
friend.
gonna have our UFC fight, right?
Yes. All right, so we'll wait while he's coming on over. And
We're gonna use that.
so, what do you think about ESG?
Oh, that's another topic.
ESG, because she was talking about ESG, government subsidies and/or money. All BS. What?
Oh, Team
Come on over,
PS.
Carlos. What do you think? We can ask Carlos too. So,
Do I
Carlos,
take this or not?
Oh, you can leave it on.
Okay.
You look good. So, Carlos.
Laura, you interviewed Laura already?
No, she comes on. You know, she has some great hot takes, but they're off the mic.
Should I grab this?
You can. You know, it's better actually if we hold it down here.
You.
Well, no, you can hold it if you want, but that way you can use your hands.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Because you tell great stories.
But how do you know I tell great stories?
Because we met about, I believe it was about 2.5 years ago when I was at On Deck. So I was at Venture after we sold our company. I left and went to, we sold Luxor One, went to Asa Abloy. When we sold the company, I went to a venture fund called On Deck. And you were gracious enough to send us deals. And when I was doing diligence, I met with you and you told me about the founders.
Okay.
And you were actually advising, you were looking at cutting a check. I maybe had invested in one or two.
Yes.
And so it was great because we you know, it was all Zoom. We never met in face to face.
Yeah.
But it was so helpful because we would do diligence in 2 days. When I say that, we had to make a decision on our memo in a 2-day decision, 48 hours. I had never seen anyone move that fast, but Eric Torenberg, our partner, would require that.
Sure.
And so you were very helpful. I jumped on a call with you to do diligence and to talk and to support.
Oh,
founders.
thank you.
Thank you.
I'm glad that I was useful.
It's funny
At
the
time.
impacts you can make on people and you don't even know it.
Yeah.
But I'll never forget that. So thank you for that.
No, thank you.
And now you're working with Reach.
Yes.
You're heading up LATAM, is that
I'm
right?
heading out Latam since 2 years ago, and so this year I'm with 8 companies in my cohort. This is my second cohort, and most of them are here.
Right.
And the fund is growing globally. We have around, I don't know, now 280 companies worldwide, and the plans are incredible for the future. So we're becoming tighter and tighter as a family, and I think it creates competitive advantages to other PropTech funds because at the end we are global covered and very close together. So we start to see a lot of synergies between regions, which I really love, no? Because at the end of the day, we're a global team, and companies need to learn from each other and work with each other. Right? So it's easy.
Well, I think it's really interesting because, you know, we live in our bubble here in the United States.
Yeah.
And within each country, the laws are very different. The
Yeah.
norms are very different. And if I remember back, I think it was something to do with MLS or brokerage or something different.
Yeah.
And the way, transactions. I think it may, there were
And
several
MLS
companies.
also, yeah.
Yeah. And there were big challenges around getting loans. It's very
Yeah.
hard, I think, for people to get loans, right? In Mexico and Latin.
I think it's hard to get a lot of things, but loans is one of the things that are very hard. We're still in a very infancy stage in a lot of real estate verticals, right? In a lot of processes in the real estate chain, right? And the home buying process is very broken in our region. So that's where the opportunities are. That's what PropTech companies in the region are trying to solve.
one of the companies and they're doing it by pieces, right? Like, for example, one of our companies in Colombia, they're dealing with the mortgage aspect of the pre-sales of condos, okay? And they are now working with banks to be part of the transactional systems, and they have saved a lot of effort, time, money for developers in Colombia. Now they're moving to Mexico. They have partnered with a US company because they saw our company in one of these events, and magic happens, right? And so that's the thing that keeps me very excited, right? And even though we're different, as you said, ideas are the same.
People have the same wants and needs and problems.
I
It's
mean, at
just
the end, you
different.
want to buy a house in a simple manner. You want to move from house to house in a simple way, in a seamless process. You want to have a mortgage fast because you need to have it fast. You want a home equity loan. You want to buy it. I mean, whatever is the same. Now, how you do it, it might be a little bit different. But if you polish those, I mean, data sets or whatever, the way I think that's the way for a region like ours to try to, I mean, save a lot of time and compete more with Europe or the United States or Canada, whatever developed countries. Right? Or in another way, it's going to be an interesting point for U.S. companies to expand into other markets where they don't have the competition they face here. Because let's say, for example, property management software. How many property management softwares are in the United States? I don't know, maybe 25, 30.
Oh, I would actually say over 1,000 because there's so many small little guys who built their own for themselves.
Well, in Mexico, I might count 5, and they only have like maybe 4% of the market, right? So that's what we're finding, and I'm very excited to be part of this group and to start making these connections, right? So that's the idea.
I'm really excited, and if you can help me, is LATAM? Is that inclusive of all of South America? Is
Yeah.
it just so it is?
It's South America and
Central America too, right?
Central America, and this year we have 2 companies from Spain.
Amazing.
One from the US, even.
Fantastic.
Because I
Yeah.
mean, we don't have a restriction in terms of not accepting somebody.
Yeah.
Because if somebody from Europe wants to be in our program because they want to expand to Latam, we will accept them. So right now we have like a Spanish company that is serving the Hispanic market in the U.S., which is amazing because he opens his speech saying, "Hey, I'm serving the 5th largest country in the world,
Amazing.
which is the Hispanic market in the U.S. I mean, it's just a huge market that people are missing, right? So yeah, it's interesting that we can serve a big geography.
Well, thank you. And I want to actually hand the mic over to Derek because Derek has a lot of followers and a lot of connections internationally. He actually brought some companies here. So I want to hand the mic to him to let him ask some questions.
Thank you.
So let me start off with when I speak to a lot of founders outside of the US, I hear implementing in the countries that don't necessarily have the PropTech or venture infrastructure. And it can work to a certain extent. So I want to ask if you ever see it the other way around, where maybe because of specific circumstances in LATAM, you see solutions pop up that otherwise wouldn't have arisen in the US. And then we see ideas come to the US. So have you seen that?
Yeah, I've seen it, and the U.S. obviously is a market that everybody wants to be in.
Yeah.
And it's a very hot market for every company. But what we try to teach them is to try to look the other way around because at the end of the day, you can have it. And I have some companies that are doing it right now and they're doing okay. But I think it's easier the other way around. Why? Because I mean, as I was just mentioning, competition is much different. The companies served are much different. I mean, people are starting to understand what PropTech is because they don't know what it is. I mean, so we have a first mover advantage. This fund, for example, the one I represent, is the only fund in Latin America that covers the whole region in PropTech. We have some local PropTech funds, but no one that covers the whole region. So for us, it's like a blue ocean, right? There is no company that we want to meet that doesn't want to meet us. I mean, it's just beautiful. I mean, maybe we're going to start seeing fifth wall going south or whatever, but right now we are alone.
It's great.
And I love it, and our companies love it, right? So yeah, at the end of the day, but I mean, you mentioned Jardy. I mean, Jardy's been around for many years. Corloy's been around for. We still need data in Mexico and in Latam. It's very hard to get.
Buildings are buildings, no matter where you go.
Yeah, and we can start doing. I mean, we only see Latam and some regions as nearshoring, right?
Yeah.
But if you look at the construction tech, right?
Yeah.
And you see companies like Icon, and that they build in warehouses outside. I mean, it's logical that we might be some of the suppliers of these materials and these manufacturing processes, right? It's going to be cheaper. So I guess that the message here is we need to open our minds. Things are changing very fast, and it's sad to see that some people, when I say, "Hey, I'm from Latam," they don't want to even hear you, right? Because they're having fun here in the United States, but they don't understand we are 660 million people. We have a 6 billion economy, and that most of the people are very well educated. Most are young people, so some countries are missing these pieces. We have them. Most of the people are connected to the internet. They have smartphones. So the level of game is leveling for everyone, right?
Yeah. And I did a world tour last year. I traveled to like 19 different cities, and I saw the cultures all over the place. And one of my biggest takeaways that I wish more founders understood is that the local markets nuances are really rooted in their local cultures, whether that be related to linguistics and the local language affecting cultural behavior. It all bleeds into real estate and the buildings we live in, the built environment, the experiences we create within built environments. So first question, what do you think are some cultural nuances? And you can drill down to cities if you want, or specific countries in LATAM. And what kind of unique aspects of real estate are creating PropTech companies that have regional specific solutions?
What do you mean, like in a cultural sense?
Yeah.
The way we do things?
So like a problem derived from a unique cultural aspect of a geography that you can't really see over here, but works very well in LATAM.
Well, I mean, I guess, as you say, the world behaves differently in different regions, right? And in our regions, in Mexico, real estate is very local. But we also have cross-border real estate, like for example, second homes for U.S. population. And we're still seeing things that are very interesting, right? For example, if you ask me, Carlos, do you have a MLS in Mexico or Brazil? No, we don't have an MLS. But we have some pieces of MLSs. For example, we have an MLS in Los Cabos, right? Which is a huge real estate market in Mexico. But the owner of the MLS is a U.S. company, and everybody uses it. And now that people are understanding it because it started to be used in Los Cabos, so we're now and other people are copying it and bringing it to other markets in Mexico. So the way we do things in Mexico is very different in a way that we struggle. We trust a lot because we are very trustworthy people. We do a lot of things. We trust a lot in the agents. So for us, the agents are not threatened by AI or whatever because we really like human contact. Okay, so when I hear that AI is going to replace, not in Mexico. I mean, not. I
Okay,
cannot
so he's
imagine.
not on Team Wally. He's not.
Not now. I mean, at the end, people want to do this. I mean, and they want to grab a tequila and a beer, and that's how you build trust. So it's a lot of time. We waste a lot of time with a notary and with the whoever is involved in a real estate transaction. There's people involved. So it's hard to change the mindset of the institutions, the people, the companies. So it's getting hard. It's like preaching a new religion.
Yeah.
Right? So you need to get into the mind of people. The psychological factor, it's as important as a technological factor or more.
So, which cities have the best infrastructure for PropTech right now?
In
In
Latam,
Latam, yeah.
the main cities.
Yeah.
So, for example, in Mexico, Monterrey, Mexico City, Guadalajara. If you go to Colombia, Bogotá, Medellín, right? Rio de Janeiro, so it's Santiago, Chile. So the main cities is where the main tech hubs are, but because of the size of the market and because of educational purposes, uh, Mexico and Brazil and Colombia are the hottest markets. Mexico second place, Brazil first place. I will say Colombia's third place. And there's very different sizes. And something important is that if you compare the GDP of Mexico, and it's the same as Texas. So 4 cities of Texas is the whole Mexico GDP. But if you see, for example, that the main income in Mexico is the remittances that are sent from the Hispanics working in the United States, so you start to view things in different angles. And if you see the amount of money that the U.S. people spend in second houses in Mexico, it's very interesting. So, I mean, it's just overwhelming how PropTech is getting people closer together and making cross-border transactions easier, right?
Okay. And let's bring in this debate question I've been having with Chris.
I
this whole time.
love debate questions.
So Chris and I have been arguing about bootstrapping, which I'm on Team Bootstrap, versus raising VC funding. I have a feeling I know which side you're on since you're with Reach, but I want to hear from you. Which do you prefer?
No. To be honest with you, I think capital needs to match the entrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
And if you are somebody that doesn't want to run because you're a very careful guy and you don't want to be serving somebody that wants you to grow double or four or whatever, that's VC is not for you. And if you're somebody that your business model is lending, I have a company that just pivot in my group that they wanted to do mortgage lending themselves, and they say, well, but I'm here, but nobody wants to hear me, and say this is not the event for you. I mean, you should be going to a loan and savings or whatever conference. I mean, this is for people that need to raise their series based on how fast they're growing. I mean, and you want to lend money to people and have a big amount of money in the bank, and that's not for you. And he understood it, and he says, so it's a matchmaking process, right? So if bootstrapping is good for some companies, and the company I was just talking about, they're doing bootstrapping, they're doing very well. And they see VC a little bit later down the road, and that's good for them. Obviously, our role is more VC, but it's not for everyone. We need to find the right match. I think that's my conclusion. Private equity is also a good source for some companies.
Yeah. I think there is a indelible link between VC money and tech. And then in PropTech, I mean, tech is in the name. But I think there's plenty of good solutions out there that can create value in real estate without tech at all. Like you brought up the mortgage example. That's not actually tech. That's just paperwork. If you think about it, mortgages are just financial transactions. They can be done without any like new technology. So do you ever see examples of that in your investing where founders come with you with an idea that actually doesn't have tech but is actually venture scalable?
Yeah, but just look at WeWork. I think it's the best example.
Yeah.
And everybody was like misled, right?
Yeah.
It was a real
where
estate
it was
game.
like dressed as a tech company, but it was really a property manager.
Yeah, there's a lot of companies like that here. You don't know what's behind, but the front end can be a very nice website or a very nice UX in your smartphone, but maybe you have 50 people in India just doing paperwork, right? But at the end, if they give you the solution, it's okay, and maybe in the future they will grow and be better skilled at the tech thing, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think most of the companies start like in a mix of analog digital.
Yeah.
They tell you they're digital because if not, they don't get the
what
money.
they think you want to hear.
But when they get the money, they say, hey, let's start spending the money in digital, because once the next round send me their due diligence or whatever.
Fake it till you make it.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of that.
So have you seen any companies that just say, we're not a tech company, but we're venture scalable?
I think I've seen some of them. I think some of them. I think some of them are like they have other models. Like I will say, I don't like the word, but they're more like franchise models, right? Yeah, we're gonna grow because I know how to do this in my hometown, and I recognize that real estate is local, so I'm gonna be investing in a sales force that is gonna be selling via agents my skills to do property management, vacation rentals, whatever model they do very well.
They try to replicate it.
And it works very fast because it's a franchise model.
Yeah.
Grows through agents. Agents get more money, and it works like a digital, right? So I also have seen a lot of those.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, and then why don't we end with a question? What are your thoughts on Blueprint? What did you get out of it? What was your favorite part?
Networking. I think the favorite part is like for our companies. For me, this is not new. Because I've been coming here, but for our companies that we have in our cohort, is like coming to Disneyland, right?
Yeah.
Because for example, if I was just with one of my companies that is in the tokenized environment in Latam, and he's one of the few players, right? Because in Latin America, this is very new. People don't understanding. We're preaching to the investors or whatever, and we were in the panel with a fundraise. Co-founder, and at the end he shake hands with him. He talked about it. For that guy, is priceless, right? So it's an environment that invites you to make connections, and I think I love it. And there's a lot of serendipity that happens in connections, and in Latam we don't have this kind of events. We only have like one big PropTech event, which most people don't like. So we see an opportunity for us in which to start making our own events. This year we're going to have part of a PropTech event as a graduation program for our cohort, and we will build from there. We'll build from a small program. Australia is doing a great program themselves. Because it's not about quality, not about quantity, it's about quality, right? Because you really want to have the right people in the event, and I think this event has very important people coming here. I don't know if it's Las Vegas or whatever, but people love it to come here and spend time talking to people and a great time, right?
All right. So, Carlos, thank you so much
No,
for your time.
Thank you so
It was great
much,
speaking to you.
and thank you for the invitation to be in your program. And I don't know. Thank you to your audience, and I hope that we can
how long
talk
have I been
again.
streaming now? Holy cow! I think I've been streaming for 2 hours.
You
could watch an
should
entire
get a Diet
movie.
Coke or something.
If you watch the whole thing, like something's wrong with you. Because I'm not that
and
interesting.
You're not very good. Like you don't. If I was doing this, I would really be like this.
And props to Eric because like his arms are probably falling off
This is
right
my
now.
workout for the day, yeah. No, but I would like to give you my contact information because I'm also on social, and I would like you guys to share this with my audience in Latin America because they like to learn a lot from this. Okay, so we can share.
Your nombre or mira, mira.
Okay, my name here, and then who can send the information?
We will tag you on
It's-
here and
yeah.
then we'll put your information.
And then, of course, I gotta plug myself.
Do you know how to use this, Eric? Like,
Oh yeah, I got you.
I think people tell me that this is a
Of course-
beautiful
Of course,
tech,
if you're
tech
here,
app.
if you're here at the end, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
It's an amazing app, right? Eric?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the
Very
sound.
cool technology here. You can just connect by hitting a button.
Yeah, it's
amazing.
It's amazing tech in a tech environment, and with tech people. Right?
All right. Cheers, guys. Thanks
Cheers,
for watching. And that's a wrap.
That's it. That's a wrap.
Okay. See you at Blueprint 2025.
Thank you, guys. See you around,
Cheers.
okay? And please send me a link to that video.